morning and welcome to the Lowry. I'm so happy to have been asked to be involved.
The instrumental value of the arts to wealth, to mental and physical health, to education, to social coherence is real and enormously, enormously important. But today is about the extraordinary and essential role which artists play in our society, their genius, their needs, their contribution to what matters in all our lives.
Delve deep into the music and the forces fulfilling it to allow the butterfly to emerge from the chrysalis.
What we want to achieve is the long overdue recognition that the arts sit at the centre of the changes of what we're experiencing, not at the periphery.
What I hope to get out of the day is how the arts and how artists can address some of the big questions that face us in society. Artists never have the answers necessarily, but what the arts can do is make us think about the big issues.
It's absolutely paramount that imagination was part of that journey for all people.
2012 is a watershed year in terms of arts policy and how we actually find money to support the fantastic arts that exist in this country.
The lack of resources creates a context in which you have to create something out of nothing. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that is a really good place to begin making art from.
We will ask ourselves more than ever, who is this work for and what are we saying about ourselves? These are big issues, and I think 2012 is the time to address them.
I think that is a really great chance for us to make some new friends and to amaze and surprise and provoke new audiences. That's half the answer. The other half, of course, is about how we sustain the emerging artist.
There's been this huge ambition to increase participation, increase engagement, particularly with young people. I think if we fail to capitalise upon that post-Olympics, then we'll have failed.
I think we need to think longer term. So when we plan, we need to really look at the audiences and the opportunities we're giving people and making sure that we're thinking about kind of longer term and not just a kind of one-off project for people, but really instilling that kind of ethos of working.
And that's the big challenge for arts organisations rather than individual artists, is to stop seeing community and participatory art as something separate, but see them as part of real life and to make themselves part of real community life, not an add-on at the end of the day.
You know, it may be that actually the performing arts should be about not being digital, about not being on electronic platforms, about being live and about being here.
We need maybe more realistic development opportunities so that artists are not just developing in terms of their practice or their discipline, but are learning about the kind of business side of the arts. We need to prepare young people for the real world that's out there so that they're not then, having really challenging transition from being a participant to a practicing artist.
Young people need to understand that culture and education and art has a context. It fits in the world, it has a political validation, it can be a social tool, and also that they need to know that they can critique it.
And speak about the work and make changes.
It's about changing the way the system is at the moment to allow most young people to make the most out of the opportunities that are available to them so that they can maximise their creative output.
I think television does do good art. However, I do think television should be doing more art.
It's moving in the place of wind like a gust. In order to have communication, we got to build trust. Trust between artists and communities, and the funders and the place and the local authorities. Boom, I take it, so I'll take my exhalation. Boom, it's also about building inspiration.
Ow.